either someone has a sniper rifle or there's just.
I mean, that would be
Whoa!
bad.
What is this like? Well, like Beverly Hills Cop 3? What kind of
I'm
music
here
is
for
that?
that.
You ever see that one? When they go
Oh
to
yeah.
Wonder World?
Oh my God.
That movie's
It's
awful.
been a hot second.
Oh yeah, that is a movie. Maybe we'll get into some movie takes tonight. What we definitely will get into some golf takes here at Stokastic Live Before Lock, PGA Honda Classic Edition. We're going to dive into all the golfers you need to know, talk about the course because we're heading to Florida from the California swing and answer all your guys' questions. You know the drill. I know a lot of you guys are regulars. I am Ben Raza. I am joined. We brought him back, even though at one point you were possibly going to be banned from the show. You
Oh,
didn't get banned from the show, and you are, in
nope.
fact, back. Eric Lindquist in the house. Sir, you must be feeling good that you survived your banishment.
I did. It was nice to make my long-awaited return, not just to PGA Lab Before Lock, but to Twitter. Don't say the word nuke in a tweet. That is what we have learned. Those are bad things, even though everybody else can tweet them. Everybody else is fine. I can't, for whatever reason, bring it up at all. I mean, you look at other places, it's like, oh, I've got this nuke bet. Put 5 units on it, fire it up, and it's like, whatever. For me, can't
Times are
do those
tough.
things.
Well, it's a safe space here. Patrick
Thank
Cantlay
you.
didn't win the golf last week. Lucky for you. That was
Thank
another
God.
way you
All
got
right.
banned again.
I had so much shit. My main lineup had Rom and Max Homa. What do you want from me? Like, you can't play all 3 together
Better
unless
than
you had
mine.
some magic formula.
Well,
I still lost money, but don't mind me.
Let's start with let's look back before we go and pack our bags and head to Florida and PGA National, everything going on. Let's talk a little about Genesis. Now, normally we'd spend a lot of time on the recap and talk about what we saw from our golfers. I don't have to really do that because most of our golfers are going to be kicking back, watching the XFL or whatever they're doing because they're not here for obvious reasons.
Ducking a course.
What do you make of this? Rom is playing unbelievable golf, and we'll revisit that, just not this week.
Yeah, 7th toughest course on tour, the Honda is. Riviera, I will say this, for an elite golf course, I think elite players like there because there is no water, because it is truly like, if you get it rolling, it's really, really hard for you not to excel over the top of the field. Like the creme de la creme generally elevate to the top at Riv because it is one of those things where, yeah, you start driving it a little bit offhand. So it's not like overly penal. I mean, you had guys like Matt Kuchar who gained a ton of strokes off the tee last week at Riv, did some other things well, but there were other ways to go about playing it. You get to this one, and this is just truly golfers ducking a golf course. It also isn't one of the elevated events. I'm not sure if they need to start getting a rotation in place. I think that's something that they did say they're going to do going forward, where certain events are going to be elevated next year so that sponsors get happy, but doubt this one does at PGA National because it'll have a brand new sponsor unless they're trying to like appease them. Pretty interesting stuff that we see. This has happened the last couple of years now at PGA National. These fields get weaker and weaker because people don't like to get beat up by a golf course.
It's a miserable spot in the schedule. You've got big time events coming up in Florida, and you just finished a pretty big stretch with Genesis and Farmers and some of those. So I totally get it. It's unfortunate because I think it's a pretty cool test of golf, different elements and whatnot. And we're going to talk about PGA National in depth. But let's move on from Genesis again. I don't think we need to say anything else.
Tiger played better than we thought.
What, Tiger?
That was nifty.
He was good. He looked good.
We had Jordan Klein out there, leading the charge there on Saturday. Did you not?
He was there rooting Tiger on. That's what, Tiger said that in the presser. He got the motivation from the man behind the glass. So we appreciate Jordan Klein.
Makes one of us.
Helping the GOAT, helping the big cat. But yeah, that was awesome. I hope we see him at the Players. Seems like he can still compete here and there. But again, he is certainly not here. He would probably rather go to live than play this. So we don't have to worry about that. Let's talk about Prize Picks. Prize Picks sponsors this show. It's a great way to get things started, to dive in. You guys know about Prize Picks. They're exploding. They're everywhere. I don't even have to say what they are. You're choosing over under all these different categories. You'll link them up. You can get that multiplier payoff. The thing I love about the Prize Picks lobby is you can really drill down into different categories. So they've got the traditional, strokes. Well, guys shoot 69.5, 71.5, whatever. Birdies are better. Matchups, greens in regulation, holes play, things like that. So when you look at a course like this, I assume that you're thinking correlation, if you think it plays quote unquote easier than expected, quote unquote harder than expected, you can do some serious damage over at Prize Picks.
Yeah, sure can. I will say I want them to start adding some formats where you can do it for the whole weekend. So
That
if
would be
Prize Picks,
cool.
you're watching, listening, I would love to be able to have that. I think they've gotten big enough. Before I understood where it was like, hey, we want to have people investing through with their money on a couple of different ones. Sweet, awesome, great. But it would be a lot more fun to have a 4-day sweat the same way you do for DFS for things, have an over under for the entire tournament on certain players, have matchups, which we have the birdie or better matchup for the individual rounds, but I would like to do it for the entire golf tournament. So if Prize Picks, if you're listening, please hook us up with that. But I want to jump to the Live Streets. It's a tour that I didn't think I would ever talk about ever. But Brooks Koepka is at 69 strokes. If Brooks Koepka breaks 69 for this first round, I will eat the spiciest thing you could possibly find on the stream next time that I'm on PGA Live Before Lock. I might have to start ducking PGA Live Before Lock after this one. I think Jeff will be back next week. But just saying, Brooks Koepka is shooting more than 69. Dude shot 78, 74 in a no-name tour event in Asia to try to get points and couldn't get it going. 69, I saw that one. That is on every single one of my cards. More than 69 for Brooks Koepka.
Yeah, I believe he struggled in Oman, which is not exactly it's not in the golf capital of the world just yet, but you have so many options there. Again, shout out to Prize Picks. And to get you started, I don't want to bury the lead because everything you should be over there, and most of you are. But if you're not and you're looking, just go to the link in the description of this video. You'll get the 1 free month of Stokastic plus Platinum. So all the tools to support you while you're over there, as well as the $100 deposit match bonus. It's super simple, super easy. And then you're inside the ropes. Again, even if for some reason you don't like Prize Picks, you're getting a free month of everything that we have here as well. So really, really would encourage people to do that. Let's get into it. Because we're not talking about Brooks Koepka. He's not in this event. He's not on this tour. Get out of here, Brooks. Enjoy whatever's going on elsewhere. We're talking about PGA National. You alluded to it at the start. This is a tough course. 10 under could easily win. We've seen that before. Short, Bermuda. It's fast. There's water. What do you make of it when you see what the players are going to be dealing with?
Yeah, it's brutal in terms of variance. Somehow, even though it's a short course, par 70, you only get the 2 par 5s, so birdies are at a premium out here. It plays tough. The wind, as long as it stays down, you can still get some pretty good opportunities, still have an opportunity to put up a number here, but for the most part, yeah, as you said, it's going to be low double digits. That's generally going to be your winner here. I doubt it gets to single digits based on what the forecast is. At least they're not playing golf out here in LA coming up for the next week, because it is going to be cold, wet, and windy out here. But it looks decent enough there where I don't think they're going to have any kind of pronounced issues there. But in terms of like all around game, even though it's a shorter course, I mean, I've said it a million times on this show, it never hurts to be able to hit the ball far. We've seen some guys who can just be really, really strong in terms of strokes gain off the tee. Ends up being a huge benefit, but you still got to hit some irons when you get to the bear trap. And also, do not drink every time you hear the words bear trap. You'll be hammered by the afternoon on Thursday.
A lot of animal theme. This is the animal theme stretch of the snake pit and the bear trap and all that other nonsense.
Snake pit's better, in my opinion.
I'm more team snake pit as well. But, this is the type of track you mentioned. You're never going to be punished for being aggressive off the tee. But can you lean on that as much here? The answer is no, because sometimes there's just nowhere to go. You can't be aggressive. So I do think it's a balancing act. I think for me, one of the big things that I look to is the hard reset on the greens. This is just different. You would know infinitely more than me because I don't play golf. A change of surface, a change of scenery. This is not, we see guys like Billy Horschel. Of course, we're going to get to him in just a little bit. Some guys are Florida guys. Some guys are West Coast guys, and they really prefer one type of golf.
Yeah, at least we do see some types of Bermuda out here. You go to Palm Springs. There's a Scottsdale as well. You go to TPC Scottsdale. You get some of those Bermuda grasses. So they at least have some comfortability with their wedges. That's kind of the main thing that you have to pay attention to. Guys around the green in Florida next to California, just because of how your wedges develop. They've got tour carts now with everybody being able to change it up on the fly now, so it's less of an issue. You're going to generally see the guys who are good around the green convert that to Florida as well. But Yeah, it's going to be still a little bit different. You go from Poana that they've been on, both at Torrey Pines. Well, they have some Bermuda on the North Course there too, but then they also had Poana here at Riv. So you're going to be getting a little bit different. It still feels different, that Bermuda grass out in Florida. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, so I do think that's an opportunity. It doesn't mean, oh, a guy who's putting bad, he goes to Bermuda, he'll suddenly putt good. But I do think there is an element of that. Is there anything else from what I've seen? We haven't really talked about weather too much so far this season, knock on wood. I don't see much. I think it's going to be
Nope.
pretty calm. I don't think it's going to be crazy difficult because of that, and that's a benefit for the players.
Yeah, I looked at it. It's kind of been the same. And for me, it's also never really about Saturday, Sunday. I'm always looking at Thursday, Friday, and I don't see any pronounced splits. It's like 2 miles per hour faster on Friday in the afternoons, but nothing that matters in any way, shape, or form.
No. So I think we're good there. Last thing I'll say, if you're stacking up a skill set, the obvious one, of course, I think would be irons.
Yes.
I don't think you want to go like driver heavy bomber teams. It would be different if you're looking to be different, but to me, that's not really the course fit.
No, it's more. I mean, irons, I basically am valuing more than everybody all the time. How do you make birdies? You hit the ball close to the hole. For this one, it's kind of like don't hit it right on 15 and 17 with an iron like that. That's kind of the path to failure there. So I'm with you. I think just finding some iron skill sets, that's who kind of is at the top of my board. Seems like it's at the top of your board, except for I will say you're awfully putter heavy in a way that I'm not super excited about this week.
Well, some of these guys can really, really roll it. And we'll get into that.
God.
Let's talk about some golfers. Starts with a two-man tier, really. Sungjae Im and Shane Lowry. They're the only two golfers over $10,000. They're the prohibitive favorites in a field that lacks win equity. Sungjae Im is comically owned right now. Not only, just to give you a small peek behind the glass here at Stokastic, not only is he the most popular guy projected in terms of ownership, he's running away with it. And that's probably warranted, but I got to start there. When you see a guy pushing 40%, what do you really do in a situation like this?
I play Shane Lowry. I think that's kind of what I've established I'm going to do. He played well here last year. It's not just looking at that second place and everything. He's from the area. Jupiter, Florida is nearby. If you're watching the Netflix series, everybody just sees Jupiter, Florida 100 times per episode.
And
seems like everybody's going down there. Shane Lowry's just another one of those dudes. He's more of the Palm Beach Gardens area, but at 10-4 for him, 10-7 for Sungjae, I'm getting half the ownership right off the bat to go that direction. What I find uncomfortable is the optimal percentage has been creeping up. Sungjae was down around 28%. It's now climbed up to 32% in the top golfers tool here at Stokastic. And that's got me a little bit uncomfortable because Shane Lowry, there is negative leverage going his direction as well now. Whereas earlier in the week, he was positively leveraged. I still think people are, because it's just so wide open, you can play pretty much whomever you want, 7, 8K. There's a lot of guys you can make cases for. I do think we still see Sungjae crazy, crazy popular. He's got a fantastic skill set, decent enough skill set for any golf course ever. He plays every single week on the PGA Tour that he possibly can. And now we're starting to see some decent form out of him. We also saw a missed cut out of him in 2022. So I'm kind of just holding my nose, going down to Shane Lowry. In all my single entries, he's kind of the start.
No problem with that. I tend to agree with that mentality. It doesn't mean to me, you don't have to make a crazy stand with Sungjae. By definition, though, if you want to get leverage, you have to allocate a ton of your portfolio to him. The thing that I think for me kind of tips the scales, not to say that I'm not playing him because I definitely am, but we're talking about a high variance course by nature.
Yes.
A couple of random unlucky bounces and you could just miss the cut because of water. So that's something to really factor in. I think in single entry and 3 max, I'm even less likely to play a guy like Sungjae because, that mentality of, I only have one lineup, let me put him in there, I think is backwards for the field. So I'm fine. Shane Lowry, you mentioned it. Should have won here potentially, had his chance. This is a good course for him. Not going to be phased if it gets difficult. He thrives in that. But we have to open it up. I mean, these are two of the highest owned players. They should be. They're great plays, all of that. How often are you building a lineup that has neither of them?
Not a ton.
Okay.
I built out some lineups before the show. I'm getting to around 45% of Shane Lowry. He's just one of my He's my second highest owned golfer that I have right now. And that's generally more. I generally find myself around 35-40% for my highest owned player in the field. I've got two guys that are up there. We'll talk about the next one pretty soon here. But I do feel as though Sung Jae still deserves quite a bit of recognition. Now, I'm not clicking on both of them in lineups a lot together. Maybe I should start finding paths to that, but that's a lot of ownership to take into your lineups. Now that Shane Lowry is the fourth highest owned golfer in this field, it does thin out what you're getting to, because the bottom 7Ks, as much as I say that there's a case to be made for a lot of guys, it's still a lot of uncomfortable clicks like normal. It's a high variance golf course. You could very well be watching either one of them miss the cut here. I think that they're both decent enough bets when you're talking about north of plus 275 for both of them to miss a cut. It's much lower than you generally see. I mean, what Finau he made the cut on the number last week. He was plus 450 was the number I got him at. So for a little bit of context, the books are aware of how much more high variance this golf course can be. But in DFS for our purposes here today, Sung Jae Im, he's still a great play, still going to play like 25% of him, but I'm specifically talking about my single entry 3 max. I just much prefer Shane Lowry.
I kind of like situations like this, because I'm going to probably be in the same range where I'll have some Sanjay, but I also hope that he gets cut. Like it's a weird balance. And if he wins, I'm not completely dead. He's still like, he's going to be one of my higher owned golfers, and I'll still probably be under the field. It's just a very odd situation because of that. But I want to open it up to you. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
So we only talked about 2 golfers, and although, part of me would say that's it, I'm going to go watch college basketball, I think we got a little more to get to still. We got Chris Kirk. We've got Billy Horschel. We've got not Alex Noren. Minwoo Lee, Kuchar, Wise. The 9K range, as I mentioned, there are guys here, maybe not with the pedigree, but again, if Sanjay struggles, if Lowry struggles, the tournament is now wide open. When you look at the next tier, we're obviously still in the top tier, but who are the guys in the 9K range that stand out to you?
In the words of Fleetwood Mac, roster wise, roster sweet Aaron Wise, something like that. A little bit of that.
I don't know anything about music, so what you just said makes legitimately no sense.
Aaron Wise. He's a really good play. He's really popular.
Nick's over here. See? You think I don't know what I'm talking about, but I know what I'm talking about.
I say, then you floor me with that. Aaron Wise, second highest in terms of optimal percentage, has played well here in the past as well. I'm not factoring in course history all that much. For me, I like recent form. I like paying attention to a little bit more of just like the overall quality of their play. And he's somehow figured out a putter over the last 50 rounds. And you got to be pretty excited about seeing that. I know he missed the cut, was not very sharp with the irons at the American Express and the Phoenix Open the way he needs to be out here. But this field, that's the other thing we didn't really talk about at the top. It sucks. It's a very bad field compared to what we had at the Phoenix Open. So I'm going to write off a little bit of that. We still have some really, really nice finishes from him in the fall. I think getting back on a golf course where there is some familiarity, I do kind of read into that. He missed the cut here last year, but otherwise has had some decent finishes. Feel as though maybe we can just kind of roster him and start a couple of builds to get really, really different. But there are some guys in the upper 9s that I still like to get to.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to push. Aaron Wise has all the talent in the world. I do think he's closer than maybe the form indicates. I think these are the type of tracks, we've seen him at OHL, we've seen him at Bermuda, and we've seen him at some of these coastal, second shot type courses have some success. In this field, you want to say, oh, like you just mentioned 2 fields. This field's as bad as the alt fields. I don't care what anyone says. There's nobody here.
This is a Palmetto Championship field.
Yeah, it's bad. So that really can help some of these guys who maybe aren't in contention a ton. I'm obviously going to talk about Denny McCarthy because I absolutely love him this week. But before I do that, I have to ask you, so there's one guy up here who we don't see that often, and that's Minwoo Lee. He's pretty everyone up here is garnering 10+% ownership. Minwoo Lee is almost pushing 20% right now, 9,400. What do you feel about his chances, and how do you attack a situation like this?
Yeah, so I mean, I bet him. He's 28-1 over at
rather
DK.
Bet him.
So what was that?
I'd rather bet him than play him. I'll just say that.
I get that. I would say that there's a lot of unknowns around it because this kind of goes and speaks to our theory about when Korn Ferry Tour guys get into contention there right when you start up in the fall. You don't know what you're going to get. Minwoo Lee basically playing glorified Corn Ferry Tour events, when you talk about like the ISPS Honda Australian Open, the Fortinet Australian PGA Championship. He had some really nice finishes there. But the Abu Dhabi one's kind of the one that sticks out to me. There was a field there, T2, feel pretty good just knowing that that's kind of the form. The Hero Dubai, T13, top 15, that was definitely a strong field as well. So a lot of guys from America went on over there. Cam Young, that was the Rory and Patrick Reed stuff that we ran into at the end of January. I feel pretty good about Minwoo Lee with the current form of what we've seen. Now, there are a lot of ways this works out, which is why for a DFS purpose, I'm not like jamming him by any means, but I really like getting to him. I like that the ownerships comes down like exponentially since yesterday. So starting to see him around sub 20%, I'm willing to be investing now. Whereas when he was sitting north of 30%, that was definitely a write-off.
That would have been, oh man.
Could you imagine?
That would have been.
I didn't believe it, but like there was a moment where I was just like, oh my God, what if he goes out and wins this thing? I'm never going to forgive myself. So I auto bet it.
I don't mind him as a bet. I don't like him as a DFS play. Guys like this are really difficult. We've seen this before where they did, like, Hao Tong Lee did this. A couple other Euros.
How about Steven Yeager when he comes out of the gate just terrible, and then now he's starting to figure some stuff out?
But this guy, he's shown up in the biggest tournaments. He's got results in the Masters, in the US Open, in the Open. He's played at API. He's played at Pebble Beach. He's played at Genesis. He's played at Valero. He's played at Charles Schwab. He's played at the Memorial. He got cut in every one of them. He got cut in every single one of them. So I'm just not sure. I know, but week to week, I'm just very surprised that he's up there with PGA Tour regulars. So this guy's got all the talent in the world. He has played against fields better than this and held his own. So I know he can do it. There's no doubt about that. I think this guy's a great fade candidate for me. I would much rather play Kuchar, Wise, and now we got to talk about Denny McPutts. Yeah. Denny McCarthy, who was also in contention here. I'd take him over in Bermuda over any putter in the world. 4th at Pebble Beach, 14th at Genesis, gained over 6 strokes putting in both. The irons are flat, and that's a positive. I can live with flat irons. If he doesn't melt off the tee, I think Denny McCarthy's primed to really be in contention here.
I think he's also primed to miss a cut, which is why one of my favorite bets for the week is plus 250 on Denny McCarthy to miss the cut. I currently have 0% of him. I look at the skill set. I'm just all the way off of it. 0%. He's 9,100 again. This is one of those things we've seen him show up. The US Open really stands out to me from last season. He made a nice run there, finished 7th, and that one kind of came from the clouds after a 5th at Memorial. Really found a nice pocket of play there. But I do not trust the ball striking on a week in, week out basis. There are going to be times like last season. He showed up, he played decent here, shows up at the Honda, finishes 30th, whatever. But if it isn't pristine there's going to be big numbers that he's eventually going to make. And he's somehow kind of like averted and skidded around it. And these are the kind of players that when they're going to be popular and they're pulling around 20%, I'm more willing to take the unknown of Minwoo Lee. He's 24. We don't really know what it is. Denny McCarthy, we've seen him enough over the last couple of years where like, if that ball striking gets awry, that putter can only save you to a certain amount, to a certain extent here. So considering he's popular, I am far more willing to take my investment to Aaron Wise. I'll take all the Aaron Wise you got. I'll take JT Poston for cheaper. I'll take Matt Kuchar even though I'm not really there. I just do not see Denny McCarthy this week.
You and me with Minwoo Lee and McCarthy. Hopefully one of us gets one of them. They'll both be in like 55th because we're
disaster.
We're on opposite wavelengths.
78 on Sunday. It'll be an ultimate gut punch.
Hey, if he makes it to Sunday, that's half the battle. Last guy in this range before we kind of get to the mid-range, talk about some other things. What do you make of Thomas Detry, who quietly has really shown that he's a pretty solid player? He makes cuts, and he's been here for quite a while now.
Don't you think he's going to be more popular? I feel like I've seen his name a lot. He's at sub 12%. Right now at his ownership, I'm very, very happy to click the button, but I'm very, very nervous that somehow, some way, he gets steamed up. He's probably the only Belgium that hasn't left for live now at this point, so he's the last one we got. He's just kind of been consistent. Genesis, what was that?
Yeah, the last Belgian.
Yeah, he's the last one standing. Peters is just like, title. I can't get into Genesis, I'm gone. So yeah, Dietrich played at Genesis, played pretty decent there. T33, we've seen some decent enough form, and now you're getting to a weaker field. So this is where, what was a T33 last week turns into a top 10 this week pretty easily. I feel that he's a good buy at this number, but I'm just nervous. I'm very nervous that I'm going to have him. He's currently in my single entry build, and I'm nervous we're going to get to lock and he's going to be 22, 25% in something.
I can see that. I think you'll see maybe in some higher dollar single entry, 3 maxes, him balloon a little bit because he does check a lot of the boxes. It's kind of a stat darling, and a lot of people are relying on that for good reason. But I still like, if you build balanced, you can make really cool teams. We're going to build lineups later in the show. And I'm very interested in, like, I know you wouldn't agree with the guy, but the concept of like McCarthy, Wise, and Detry together. You can get 3 9s if you omit the top.
Totally. And again, we talked high variance golf course. I have a lot of him and a lot of Lowry right now, so I'm not going to like say you shouldn't do something that I'm not doing myself, but like there's a definite case to be made for just full fading them and taking the rest of the field, because if one or both somehow have a disaster, which is super, super easy on this golf course to run into, you play 36 holes here, and I would say 25% of the time you're making double or worse on something. You know what I mean? Like it's very difficult to get around this golf course unscathed over 2 days. It's just, you're going to have a big number somewhere. And if you're not making enough birdies and there's no freebies to be really had out there, you've got to take advantage of the 2 par 5s. And outside of that, it's going to be a lot of iron play winning the day. They're the 2 best at it. So I do feel like over investing there right now. But if you're building out a single entry, if you can get one of them to miss, what a spot that would be.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not opposed to that at all. You just have to understand, if you do that, there's a very real chance that you return 0%. Like, right. And if you're okay with that, I'm all for that. We actually had a question in 3 max, is dodging both 10K plays contrarian? Yes, it is. And I think that's a totally sound strategy to do. I'll definitely have some lineups that do just that. Now, let's get to the top of the mid-range. And while we're doing that, I will say, you and me have already mentioned the leverage scores, the ownership, all the good stuff that you can get here at Stokastic. And we know that there's a lot going on. We know there's a ton of things. So if you are looking to get inside, the link in the description has all the deals that we have going on. And one of them is getting 50% off, just a weekly premium subscription of anything you want. You go in there, you try it out, you get half off. If you like it, we hope you stick around, obviously. And if you don't, you got to see some of the tools for 50% off, save yourself some money. So I always encourage people to do that if you want to see the ownership, the leverage, the pro plays, all those type of things. You mentioned your boy, JT Poston, Taylor Pendrith, Svensson, who the whole community is on. If he wins,
oh my God,
Twitter is just going to blow up. It's just over with screenshots. Johnny Vegas, Straka, defending champ. English, the Polish Giraffe. Shout out to Pat Mayo. Adrian Moronk is here. Bez. A lot of opportunities in the 8K range. Where are you looking?
Looking at Poston, Pendrith. Those are kind of the two upper eights. Again, gonna have to run into builds where you don't have Lowry or him in some of those builds, and that kind of makes it intriguing. So I'm JT Poston. It's impossible for me to get away from him on any kind of a spot where if he can spike with those irons, it's been so good. He's been so good off the tee, the putter. He's just been consistent, I would say. And last week, whatever, you had to find some cheapies. You had to find some guys to get to, and ran into another missed cut there. But it's just been a little cold with the putter. Now we're getting on his chosen surface. He lives in Sea Island, grew up in North Carolina. That's Bermuda and Bermuda. So here we are. American Express, you saw that. Bermuda, that was nice. 6th there. That was a weak field. Like, this was a much better field, I would say, at the American Express than what we've got here. So I feel pretty good, and just kind of writing off a little bit of the off the tee game. Generally, it's not his strongest point. So get hot with those irons. He does get those spiked weeks. And if the putter can be flat or positive here, you're looking at a pretty good buy, upper eights.
Taylor Pendrith, to me, is the one that I'm most confused about.
Oh.
He had gained 12 straight events off the tee, and he has lost off the tee in 3 of 4. I don't know what that means. It could just be a blip. There could be something wrong. He's gained in 5 straight with the putter, and if he hadn't, it would look even worse. Now, I'm still willing to buy on a guy that I think is pretty close. He's a damn good player. He's not overpriced in this field, but I did want to point out something that's pseudo-automatic for him lately has just been not effective, and that's always a little concerning when you see a guy that consistent. Vegas, I think, makes a lot of sense. He can get crazy hot. We've seen him at the Players. We've seen him do some of those things. I sour on the bottom half of this range, though.
Same.
I don't really like Straka. Not super high on Moronk. I think Bez is kind of interesting, but other than that, I don't have a lot to say.
I'm so over Cameron Davis. Do we
Is he
click
hurt?
on Cameron Davis? I don't know what's going on, dude. I'm so over this. I have just
He's
gotten
not playing well.
obliterated by this dude. If he does it this week and I'm off of him completely like I am right now, I'm going to lose my mind. The one guy that I want to talk to you about, and I'm a little concerned how high I am on him. I kind of threw this into a Discord the other day, but I really like Garrick Higo at 8K. We've seen him be positive 5 straight weeks off the tee. It's just another player that you get that 1 year of experience. He ended up winning the Palmetto, his second start in America. The guy goes out and wins a tournament. It was a really bad year last year. I'm not going to say anything was positive. We got that third from the Sanderson Farms from the clouds. You had a 30th at Butterfield, but otherwise it was just kind of miscuts. I think it's actually positive that he's made the cut in 3 of 4. The one miscut being the Waste Management Phoenix Open. We know the strength of that field, and he was awesome at doing everything but putt. His putter has just been cold in some spots, and I think if we see him just continue this off the tee type play, we have seen some spike weeks with the irons. I think he's an interesting buy. Changing up the surfaces, you talked about it too. How much worse can it get than losing 3.3 strokes gained putting in 2 of his last 3? Like, I don't think it can get a lot worse jumping over there. So I'm actually in on Higa this week.
Interesting. A lot of love for Higo. Partner and friend of the show, part of the show, Jeff Ulrich in chat also loves Higo.
I love that.
Yeah,
I bet him T20 top. It was just close to plus 400 for a T20. And then I just think that, I don't know, it's just another year of experience. You kind of have to be able to have a short memory about some of this stuff. He had a lot of miscuts, and sure, this can go sour just like it could for anybody at PGA National, but 5 straight off the tee, that is as positive as it gets. That kind of eliminates one issue. If we can find the putter in any extent, I mean, this is just like 8K. I think he's a really, really dark horse win candidate.
So a couple of things about Higo. One, he's great leverage because he's looking like he might be under 5% owned. And that in itself is extremely important too. He's done it. He's a winner on the PGA Tour. Now his miscut, he is the type of guy, and I don't think this should deter anyone.
He also has 3 wins in Europe for what it's worth.
Oh yeah. Yeah. In the Canary, he's beaten don't even get me started.
That looks different than this field.
Canary Islands is 30 under wins that. Get out of here with that nonsense. But Higo's got some things that I like. We just see this tournament slightly different because to me, everything you said about Higo, I think is applicable to Bez, who is a totally different player. He's a short game specialist. He bleeds off the tee. He bleeds with the irons. He's kind of more in the Denny McCarthy bucket. I think they correlate very well if they can hold it together. Get to the green, they're going to be just fine. I think Bez has some of those skill sets, and I like him at 82. He's not going to be as, under the radar as a guy like Higo, but he's also not going to be popular. I think that Moronk will be popular. I'm kind of indifferent there, and Johnny Vegas will be very, very popular.
We got Nolan Kelly and Chad. Hungry Higo. How about Lego My Higo? I like that one too.
That's not bad. It's better than Fleetwood Mac. Anyway.
Just you wait.
I wait. All right, good. Last thing. And we'll talk about, I know you, Higo, on the betting side, which you can always check out at Odd Shopper Golf. He's the type of guy there. Opportunities in the betting market with some of these South Africans. Cam Davis for me, I know we talked about him. He's playing really bad. If he beats me, I'm going to pass on him.
I have 0. I want to throw up because, again, I've rostered this absolute dunce cap. 3 straight tournaments he's played. It is just the worst.
Yeah, I've done that. I've been playing him for quite a while, but if he beats me, he beats me. We still got plenty. This is where it gets serious. The 7K range is loaded with options. Benny On versus Aaron Rai. That would be Benny On for me.
It's for me too this week. This is probably the first week I'm higher on Benny On than Aaron Rai.
Good. Well, join the team. Ben Griffin leads off the range. Jaeger is here. Aaron Rai, Buckley, Benny On, Justin Sue, Nick Hardy, Will Gore. I mean, so many young guns in this range. A lot of guys with a lot of talent. If you flat, and what I mean by that is go very balanced, you could theoretically have like 4 guys from the upper 7s in the same lineup. What do you see when you break down this range?
We got to go to Hayden Buckley, right? Like
what? Okay.
Miscut at the Farmers and Genesis Whatever.
Did you see? Hold on, I'm sorry.
Can't chip.
What the? Last week, I'm paying attention. First of all,
Mhm.
the shot tracker is so bad, I can barely pay attention to what's
Yep.
going on. But
Yep.
one thing, even with my deranged mind, I look and I say, okay, Hayden Buckley, he's like 3 or 4 under. Obvious, on Friday, I'm not going to worry about it. I look back and I did I missed him in the 3 or 4 under range. Holy shit, he must be up. I scroll to the top, he's not there. I scroll down, he's not there. He's just 4 over now. Like, what exactly happened at Genesis over the span of like 6 holes late?
He realized he was Hayden Buckley.
What in serious melt? Like, Grillo did a typical melt. Hayden Buckley went extreme.
Golf is a wild sport, dude. If you can't accept it, I mean, this is the kind of shit that's going to happen when you're Hayden Buckley. Like, it's not going to happen every single time out, but like, you have to be able to kind of have a short memory about stuff like this because he's been in some weaker spots. He's really, really been good off the tee and approach. Like, for me, just a ball striking pedigree here. He lost 5 with the irons last week. That is such an outlier for him that I don't have words for it. And then you back it up with another bad putting week. He's just the classic. You got to go back to it. Like, I'm going to just write off anything I saw at the Genesis, and I had a little bit. I didn't have anything. It sounds like you were pretty invested because you seem really happy about it. But
I was just confused.
I understand that. Again, come play golf. It's the most confusing thing you can do. Some days you're just God. Some days you want to just hide in a dumpster in an alley somewhere. But Hayden Buckley, you see him off the tee first in this entire field over the last 50 rounds, 7th in terms of DK scoring. I think if you can make the cut, there's definitely some birdie ability. I've never said that before, but I kind of like that. Birdie ability with Hayden Buckley.
Him, Jaeger, Benny On are all guys that I'm going to plan to be over the field on. It sounds like you have no objections to any of them right now.
Nope.
I'm going to bring in the next batch then. Justin Sue, Nick Hardy, Will Gordon, Davis Riley types. Talented, showing some flashes. Davis Riley's kind of disappeared. Are you looking to buy low on some of these, guys with not a ton of experience, but obviously a ton of upside?
Yeah, I like Davis Riley a little bit. This is close to the time of year when we saw him start to excel a little bit last year.
I'm a guy.
What?
He's from Alabama.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool. Well,
he went to college there for sure.
Well, I just know he was buddies with Spieth, and that was the whole thing. It's been bad of late, but again, you look at this field, you look at this opportunity he has. He got really, really hot come the spring last season. Valspar being his breakout. That was the playoff that I believe he lost there, but feel pretty good about trying to just buy low on him. There's nobody who's going to be clicking on his name. I know that you just have to look at it relative to ownership. I feel pretty good about him. Nice to see Patty Harrington down to like a normal place because he was really popping earlier in the week, and I didn't quite understand it considering he played on the senior tour last week. If anybody watched that, Bernard Longer, stop anchoring your putter. But Padraig Harrington, pretty interesting sub 10% now, whereas before I had no desire to play him at around 20. And then Brandon Wu, I just have always liked this kid's game coming from college into the big leagues. I think it was just a matter of time for him. He's sub 7,500, feels very, very discounted amongst this field.
I would agree with that. Brandon Wu flirts with 7K in, farmers-esque fields to me. Yes. And I don't really get that. I have no pushback on any of that. I have no interest in Patty Harrington. I just don't see it, even though he does play obviously difficult. He's not shooting 25 under. He can't keep up at those type of events. I want to throw 2 guys out there that, again, we've seen them. They're Europeans. They've won things. They've got experience.
Tearing up my heart when I'm
Who? No, not him.
Okay,
I said won things. What has that guy done?
Callum Tarrant. That's my dude.
I know. He's won what? A raffle at Chuck E. Cheese's? He's not winning anything.
Second at the RSM. You hold your tongue.
I like Callum Tarrant a lot, but I'm talking about winners. EVR is who I want to talk about, and I can't even say.
Yeah, Callum Tarrant's basically been broken the last couple of weeks, but I'm just gonna.
He's on the up and
sacrifice. Well, there's nowhere else to go. It can't get worse than we saw the last couple of weeks. I just have a little. I just wanted to bring him up because I'm.
What about Danny Willett and what about EVR? Yes. These are guys that are in this range. Obviously, a different point of their careers. We've seen them at majors. We've seen them in Europe. Danny Willett's actually done some serious things in terms of resume. Do you have interest in either of them this week?
In who?
In Danny Willett or a guy like EVR?
Yeah, I think EVR is okay, but I'm much more interested in taking a shot on Willett. I mean,
Okay.
he rebuilt his entire golf game over the course of the last year. It's nice to just see him up there. I believe he won, what was the European event that he won, the big one at, what's the name of it? Somebody will bring it up here in a second. I'm not clicking on his name, but decent enough where I think there's just a lot of these guys that you can kind of rotate through. I mean, we can play Russell Knox. We can get to Adam Schenk if you want to have a little bit of that. Ben Taylor, I think there's a case to be made for another European. I mean, it's never going to look good in the box score, but like it's just all relative to the field strength. And I think there's a lot of these guys. You're going to see some guys emerge from this range, and you're also going to see some top end guys fail. So like, it's a nice spot to kind of like over invest, I think, and just kind of scattershot if you're playing a bunch of lineups.
Definitely, I think if you're playing a bunch of lineups, want to open it up down here, because I think all of these guys are the win equity is so dispersed. There's going to be some dudes that really get in the mix from down here, no doubt about it. Last guy, because it's just funny to talk about
Webb Simpson.
Yes, who's fallen on some hard times.
Is he okay?
I don't know.
Like as a person, is he? He has a lot of kids, I think.
He does.
And I had the strokes gained marriage, which, oh boy, that model needed some repair after last week. But yeah, I think this time it's around strokes gained kids. And you want to have a really good golf game? Don't be a family man. How about that? Webb Simpson, leave the kids alone. Go make them some coin on the side. Get out of Winston-Salem, where I believe he lives. Go see the world a little bit. Experience it. Live it up. You got the money. Buy a sitter.
Live it up or live it up?
No. See, I see what you did there. I didn't like it.
Of all the puns that you've pulled out, you missed the easiest one.
Son of a bitch. I don't like
you got to take the layups, bro.
Okay.
Webb is just not playing well. I don't know if he's still hurt. I don't know if he has it. I don't know what's going on. I'm not paying to find out. Kind of simple as that for me. I simply don't see it with him. Fratelli and Matthias Schwab, to me, are both YOLO GPP plays. Fratelli's a winner on the PGA Tour. He can get it going. Schwab was 7th here. He's starting to show a little flash with the form. I think those are the type of guys I want in the pool this week.
Yep, totally get it. Again, you can make a case for a ton of them.
You really can.
I don't know what to say. Like, I have my preferences. I have guys that I want to play more than other people. Brandon Wu at 7,300, Davis Riley 7,400, Ryan Palmer 7,400, SH Kim. I don't mind 7,400, but like, there's a case to be made for so many of them. Either it's low ownership and we know that they have the potential, or it's an opportunity where you could just make the case that it's a high variance golf course. So like, there's so many pieces down here that it's really hard for me to just like say this is my guy and kind of holding true to it. It's more of a scatter the board approach.
I would agree. And yeah, chat pointed out, we did kind of gloss over Ben Griffin. I'm very comfortable with him. I think he's pretty reliable. I think the price is fair. He's not my favorite play in the 7s, but he's in the pool for me.
He's fine.
Yeah. He is kind of chalky. I would agree with that, but I can work around it because I like some legitimately insane people.
Upper 6s, get ready.
Yeah, well, let's get ready. Here we go. Before I do that, I do want to say, if you enjoy golf, and I know you all do because you're watching this show, you can always follow us at Rasa DFS.
It's the Honda Classic.
And it's the Honda Classic. So you guys are the real ride or dies. If you also like to make some wagers on PGA, we have a brand new YouTube channel called Odd Shopper Golf. And all it is golf betting. That's it. 24/7. That's it. There's no NBA. We've got that all on Odd Shopper. So if you enjoy golf, head over to Odd Shopper Golf. Subscribe, be part of that community, and it does feed in. I would have to tell you, we also have the deal with BetMGM. So if you're in a legal state, you're going to get that risk-free when you register at BetMGM Sportsbook. Again, it's in the link to this description. You can use that platinum code called Platinum Sub, and you're going to get that 1 free month. All the details are there. Again, it's just opportunities for you. My man, Jordan Klein, he's juggling all sorts of things. He's got it on the screen. He's dropping links. I appreciate you, sir. It's all on the screen there. It's just opportunities to really pad the bankroll. We've got all the content on Odd Shopper Golf, so we hope you take advantage. You got to be 21 plus. Got to be responsible. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. It's time to get dangerous. 6K range. We got Ben Martin. We got Eric Cole from the Clouds. Batia is here. Marty Dew, not Danny Lee. What are you doing? How often are you going down here? And then where are you landing when you do have to get into the 6K range.
Akshay Bhatia. This is
Here we
6,800. Oh yeah. Weak field event. The pedigree is off the charts. Again, just a young dude. Has not really, I mean, he turned pro at what, 16, 17? He's been around forever. He came out here and worked with Genghis in Southern Cal, seen it at the range a couple times. He moves it. Absolutely moves it. Definitely needs a cheeseburger or two, but he moves it. And it's a dude that I think is going to start putting it together at the professional level sooner rather than later. And you want to be invested. 6,800. Crazy amount of leverage that he creates with the ground from the left side. I think he's going to be a special player eventually. Haven't really found a chance to roster him in like a weak enough field. I mean, we saw him play okay at the Bermuda, top 20 there, RSM, whatever. He's just kind of starting to get a couple of starts here on the big league tour, coming up from Korn Ferry Tour in some spots, but I think that he's a decent enough buy at 6,800, but Michael Kim at 6,900 as well. Somebody that was popping in terms of the top golfers tool here at Stokastic, had a top 10 at the Pebble Beach. I believe he's a Cal Bear, so it would make some sense. Michael Kim, seeing some opportunities on the PGA Tour here as well. I didn't really buy into him last year, but again, another year of experience. These college kids, once you start getting acclimated to these courses, you see them for a second time, you see them and have an opportunity to kind of rectify some of your problems. I don't think he's ever actually had an appearance. Yeah, he did, 2021. But Mike, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to jump in. Michael Kim is an interesting story too, because you remember he won and then he missed like 30, 40 cuts in a row. He went down.
It's not good.
Got it back, and now he's back.
John Deere, right?
He gained, all I know is he gained like 30 strokes putting that week. I remember it well.
Michael Kim.
Yeah, John Deere. John Deere in 2018, 2019, literally didn't make a cut. 2020 barely made a cut. Lost his card, went down, did some good work, came back. Now he's starting to put it together a little bit. So
let's go.
Shout out to Michael Kim.
Golf is hard.
Andrew Novak. What about so there's these Cody guys. Have you seen these names being?
Oh no, Cooties. Yeah,
Cody, whatever.
I don't want Cooties. You don't want Cooties.
I don't think I want that either. I tend to be. I like to always say this. If there's someone who's going to come from the clouds and immediately make an impact, there's a very rare chance that I'll be on them. I tend to let other people chase that stuff. Sometimes you get burned. Most of the time, it turns out just fine. I can name 100 golfers that were in this spot and didn't do much. So I'd rather go with more known commodities.
Yeah, like Austin Eckroat.
Yeah, that guy. What's he doing?
Hey, top 12th at the Sony, I believe it was. Miscut. But either way, he's decent enough. Oklahoma State, let's go.
Oh, he's here.
He's here. That's why I literally said his name. Oh,
I just figured he was in chat or something.
Don't do it. It's not
anyway. Nice. How low, before we're going to build a lineup, answer some questions. I think this is an important topic because we're throwing out some names. All these guys are going to be very low owned. Jeff just derailed the show with Jonas Blix. My God.
Dear God.
He does have some splits that do show up.
Man, are we going to play some Cameron Percy?
How low do you need to go, though? Because I think this is not, I want to get Rahm and Rory and I'll jam 6,300. Like, what are you paying up for per se?
It's a great point.
Like, I am apprehensive to go this low when the win equity is so dispersed, because really, what's the difference between the 9K guys and the upper sevens? Yes, they're better, more consistent, but it's not like a major level field to me.
There's also Kyle Westmoreland.
Ah, yes, Kyle Westmoreland, the great general of our time. What are we doing here?
We're not doing anything here. I'm just saying names now.
Trevor Cone. I thought he was on the Yankees at one point.
Jeff Ogilvy is in this field. Arjun Atwell. Hey, what's up, my dude?
Kyle Stanley's the legit min, and he hasn't made a cut
since the Civil War.
Yes, it's actually been quite a while. So I don't think there's a reason to go down here. If you have a name and you say, I've done the research and this is the guy, more power to you. You'll get leverage with 5% of any of these guys. I just don't think that I'm going to be doing that.
So this is a golf course, Brandon Matthews. No, he's a bomber. There's just no chance.
Yeah, Brandon, that's another guy. I don't see it. So for me, I will be trying, I'm not saying I'm wiping out the entire 6K range, but the bottom of the sixes, I'm going to really pump the brakes there. But what do you say we build a lineup?
That sounds like a lot more fun than rostering those guys.
Yeah, what do you say? Is it build a lineup time? It certainly is.
Let's do it.
Let's go. Let's get after it. You know the drill. We're going to bring up lineup builder. We're going to have some fun. Sir, the honors. Whatever they say in golf, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll click the 8K guy right from the get-go. Give you a low-owned piece. Nobody's going to play him except for us, you watching this show. You can all blame me on Twitter when he misses the cut. But Garrick Higgo, 8K, I want him in single entry this week.
Okay, well, you
didn't like that at all. I get it.
No, it's not. It's not that I didn't like that at all. I just like already. We have to always match. One of the most underrated things is trying to match your lineup to what you're playing in. And all right there, if you're playing Higgo, you know that you're playing in a tournament structured lineup. You obviously have leverage already. I'm going to make it pretty easy for us in the sense that we're going to be leveraged after 2 plays. I'm going to take Bez right above him. No one is going to do that. No one is going to put Higgo and Bezettin together in lineups. It's a weird combo. It's not a popular combo. We have plenty of money to work with. So let's do a little South African 1-2 punch to start.
Wow, look at that. Can I roster a 6K Gary Player?
Gary Player, yeah. He might as well be in this field.
Makes me want to click on Patrick Harrington. That's the closest thing to like Social Security money we can procure here. Do we want to do an Im or Lowry? Do we want to do this, or are we going to like build without them here?
We can.
I want to click Lowry 10-4. I'm gonna force this down to that upper sevens. Upper says. What am I talking about? Shane Lowry 10-4 click.
No problem there. So we've got Higgo, we've got Bez, we've got Lowry. I'm going to just go best available for me. Okay. I really like Benny on this week. He's a good around the green player. His putter has been better. He's got plenty of experience at Honda. Bun Huan is a good player at 7,600. I feel very comfortable putting him in basically any type of lineup.
Well, you want to talk around the green. My next guy, we didn't talk about him on the show, but somebody that I am interested in, it's Jagerbomb, 7,800. Yep. That's what he does. If he is not good around the green, you are going to see an MC next to his name because generally everything else sucks. But he's actually made some cuts here. Top 10 at the Houston Open Bermuda. Not really a comp to this by any means, but feel pretty darn good about Steven Jaeger. Once again, just another target upper sevens.
Yeah, Steven Jaeger, Benny on. These are the type of BY there. Just
put AN in. It should come up.
You see Hunan, HUNAN. Type in HUN.
It's BYEONG. My God. Amateur hour. Jaeger.
J.
Put your hands up in the Jaeger. Jaeger.
You see what goes on behind the glass? This is a lineup of greatness. And it's such a good lineup. It's just like, no, we can't handle it. Look at this. Perfect. And now the great thing about this lineup, you have a million options. We have $8,000 left. You could take Ben Griffin. No problem. You could take Justin Sue. No problem. Hayden Buckley. That's who I'm ultimately going to go with. Leave 400 on the table. But any of those guys, I think Ben Griffin makes a lot of sense as well. You could take Patrick Rogers, who withdrew, and you would disgrace yourself. So please don't do that. You've got a lot of other options, though, in the $7,000 range. I like this lineup. I like this build. We're going to have to survive Sunjay. But if he doesn't win, if he comes in 23rd, man, do you have opportunities here.
You could also just take Lowry out, put Sungjae in, and play it in a lower level contest and not have to like stress it all.
You could also take Lowry out, put in like a Wise, or McCarthy, and then you can take Ben Griffin, and it could become another 9K guy.
Are you building any lineups that have like 600-700 in salary on the table here? Because I find myself doing that a lot in this tournament.
I'm not looking to do that, but I'm super comfortable doing it.
Me too.
It's no
Wanted
problem.
to throw that in there.
Yep. Don't be afraid to leave money on the table. I always say the same thing with that. I don't think you need to. If your lineup's leveraged, it's leveraged. But if you don't have an upgrade, don't upgrade just to upgrade. Why would you do that? These golfers are interchangeable. Friends.
It's also great advice for kids dating in college.
this man, like I said, I provide some golf takes, you provide some life takes, and that is extremely, extremely valuable stuff. Again, that's why you want to follow us both on Twitter. Pendrith thoughts, we talked about him. His off the tee game is a little alarming right now, but he's still Pendrith. I think he's going to be all right. All right. It's time to get a little on the way out. A little hot takes. I got a good hot take. I don't even know if it's hot take. It might be.
I'll let you lead it off then.
Okay. Listen to this. So I've made it known. I do think that Denny McCarthy, this is not my hot take, by the way. I just want to preface this because people yell at me all the time. I think Denny McCarthy has a real shot to win. He was the winner on my tweet, blah, blah, blah. If he does not win, and most likely he will not. How's this for a hot take? This is not crazy hot.
Okay.
A South African is going to win the tournament.
I mean, come on.
You got Bez, you got Higo, you've got EVR, you've got Defoe, Fertelli. You've got a nice little core of South Africans in this field, all extremely dangerous.
I also like to live dangerously.
That's not bad.
20 beats your 5. I'm sorry,
sir. I was thinking about not that scene, but I was thinking about something related to Austin Powers the other day. That movie is not that it's underrated because it's an all-time classic, but at the same time, it might be underrated. Just
very well. Where do I begin?
Okay. You know where you could begin? Give us your hot take here because
we'd make me tell me.
Before the show, you're telling me, oh my God, it's the Southern California tsunami cyclone is coming. Now you're amateur hour. Get to the hot takes. We got things to do here.
Okay. Well, here you go.
Thank you.
We've got. I know you're not on him, but Min-Woo Lee, I do like as a bet. I talked about him a little bit earlier, but
bet.
Denny McCarthy, as well as Billy Horschel, missed the cut. We didn't talk about Billy Horschel, but those are the two together. I gave you the missed cut, Tony Finau. He made it on the number. It was a great bet. I do not hashtag no regrets. Hashtag no regrets. This isn't as fun, but you want to put the two together. It pays you a nice little pretty penny. I am looking at Billy Horschel, Denny McCarthy. Billy Horschel, I don't know what's going on with his off the tee game. He found a lot of form, and now he's going back to Florida, the Florida Gator narrative, yada, yada, yada. This is not the golf course. You want to be having like 6.6 strokes gained lost off the tee at the Century, 3.6 strokes gained, lost off the tee at the Phoenix Open. You start doing that at this golf course, as well as the bad putter we saw at the Genesis that resulted in the miscut. He's just one of those antsy players that like you're going to find times when you just want to be invested and he'll go out and win you a memorial. He'll also have major issues off the tee at a golf course like this and get blasted. So Billy Horschel, especially to miss the cut, I love, but Denny McCarthy, I'm definitely also not on.
Eric Cole winner. Now that's a hot take, friends. If that happens, Brendan Gobert, you better be.
You can
back in
do
chat.
The show next week.
You can just do the show.
Solo pod. All you.
Jordan Klein, and just that's words to live by. Now, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I know that not every week is the Super Bowl in golf, but it's so cool to have all you guys here. We appreciate each and every one of you. Want to help us out? Hit that like button on your way out. Special thanks to Jordan Klein behind the glass. Third part of this trio makes the show go. For me, for Eric, for Jordan, for all of you guys, good luck. Hopefully someone takes it down. Tweet us when you do. We'd love to see those screenshots. But until next week, enjoy the golf, and we'll see you then.